267-495-4866 or DougCarnsProgram@gmail.com. This is the Doug Carns Program here on All Noise Radio. All right, let's finish up with the Obama audio, Joe, and we'll finish up talking about it and move on to something else here.
These kinds of things open the door to unscrupulous practices. Loans with hidden fees and terms that meant your rate could double overnight.
Again, you should read over the freaking contract. Just read it over. Read it over. I'm pretty sure you can understand that it will say after 24 months your payment is now so-and-so, or it might raise up a certain percentage. That's when you ask the questions, how much is this going to cost me in 2 years?
Yeah, those are the kinds of things you should read.
And
I don't know if many people know that.
But. Yeah. We signed into law, thanks to Newt Gingrich and President
Our
Clinton.
boy.
Yeah. And President Clinton. We signed into law the Housing Reinvestment Act, where it said that the banks were more forced to give subprime mortgages to people of lower income, which meant you had to subprime means, hey, you're giving it under the principal amount, payment-wise. So people were getting houses for either free or at least at like $500, $600 a month for the first couple of years. And then
they get hit with it.
Yeah, the bank has to make their money back somehow. Yep. And it gets raised to thousands of dollars a month, and they can't afford it. This is why we hit the crisis that we did. That's why Lehman Brothers was going under. It's because people weren't paying attention to what they were buying when it came to a house. You had to realize that, like, if I was getting a house for $500 a month, I'd be like, okay, a 30-year mortgage for a $200,000 house, $300,000 house, something doesn't add up right. Why is my school loan more than my house payment? I mean, it's just personal responsibility. Again, okay, I'm not going to say that the banks were never at fault, but you have to have personal responsibility and be accountable for some of this stuff. Like, the president is making it sound like it's, all the bank's fault. It's always the bank's fault.
Always, yeah.
When you're the one that signed the contract, the bank didn't put a gun to your head and say, sign this.
It's not your fault. I want your vote.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
To people getting mortgages they couldn't afford, and it put honest businesses at a disadvantage. And it encouraged dangerously risky behavior on Wall Street, which dragged the economy into the mess that we're still trying to clean up. That's why we passed financial reform a year ago. It was a common sense law that did three things. First, it made taxpayer-funded bailouts illegal, so taxpayers don't have to foot the bill if a big bank goes under. Second, it said to Wall Street firms, you can't take the same kind of reckless risks that led to the crisis. And third...
Excuse me, who are you, Mr. Dictator, to tell me what I can or cannot do with my money? If I'm a private business and people invest in me, that's their own fault. Now, as a human being, I'm going to say I'm not going to try to lose these people's money. But this is what it's all about: risk. It's not a guarantee in life that you're going to put money into something and you're going to get more back or the same thing back. You might lose it all, or you might lose some.
Everybody wants to make big take risks, but they don't want to deal with the consequences.
Yeah, they don't want to lose big. They want to win big.
Yeah,
but they don't want to lose big. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've taken hits. I've been buying silver. I've taken a hit before where it's dropped $5, which is a lot when you have a bunch of ounces in your collection. So you don't invest for a guarantee. You're smart about it. You look at a bank that might be doing well, making smart decisions, but at the end of the day, that bank can do whatever they want if you're trying to invest into them. So, Mr. President, I'm sorry, you're not there to tell a private business what to do. That's not. You're becoming a dictator. You're becoming somebody that you said you weren't going to be in 2008.
It put in place the strongest consumer protections in history. Now, to make sure that these protections worked so ordinary people were dealt with fairly, so they could make informed decisions about their finances.
All right, so basically, we're not going to keep playing this entire thing because he just goes on about appointing a new consumer protection guy into his office, which is totally unconstitutional. And he, like we played earlier, he promised not to bypass the Senate because the Senate has to approve him. And the funny thing is, he said apparently there's a law that if the Senate's at recess, then the president is allowed to bypass the Senate. Well, he used that rule while they're still in session.
Yeah.
And nobody does anything about it.
That's not a problem.
It's just so annoying.
It's Barack Obama. It's fine.
Yeah, and then he goes on to say that, middle class is hurting, we need to help them, and he's having these outlandish parties. He's having hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of parties at the White House. And some of them have been kept secret. As the Blaze reported on Tuesday that the White House kept secret of their 2009 Alice in Wonderland party, where Johnny Depp was there and a bunch of other celebrities were there, which probably cost money for them to come dressed up as the characters of Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
And they kept it secret from the American people. And then Jay Carney comes out on Monday saying that, we've released pictures of that. Nobody's ever seen them. Even the press that's been on Obama's side this entire time said, we've never seen these pictures. And then they released them after the press conference. So why, Mr. President, are you having these crazy parties that cost so much when the middle class is hurting? I mean, Joe, if you were president right now during a recession, would you be having these
Absolutely
parties?
Not.
No.
That's unreasonable.
First of all, I'm just lazy in general to even have a party. Like, in my own life, especially if I'm president and I have so many things to worry about, why the hell am I throwing parties? But it's just the principle of it that people are hurting out there, and you're throwing these big $30,000 a plate dinners at the White House.
Yeah, me and you are more rational. Our leaders are not.
No.
They're not very realistic.
And I just saw an article this past month that congressional pay and federal employee pay has gone up significantly in the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah, naturally.
And the middle class has declined.
Mm-hmm.
So who's the 1%? At least I know the politicians are included in that 1% because they vote in pay raises for themselves all the time and for the federal employees, and the middle class is going down. We should be protesting them.
The hypocrisy is amazing.
It really is. This is why people need to pay attention. And on the side note, Joe, have you been paying attention to the Archdiocese of Philadelphia about the closings?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
I was just telling Maureen this past week, this is why people need to pay attention. Because if this is truly a financial decision for the Archdiocese of Philadelphia to close down schools and combine them, then it's because of the recession. People are donating less at church. People are showing up at church less. I know that. But you're donating less. People are crunching their pockets, so they're going to put less kids into private school, pay the tuition. So this is why it's an argument why people should pay attention a little bit more what's going on in the country and maybe the world, because it hits you at home sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And this is an example right here that it hits you at home.
Yeah.
So they have to close down schools. People are outraged by it, and some people are questioning, why is this happening? Now, granted, it might not be a financial thing. Some people aren't, saying it is because some schools were actually doing really well, but that's what the Archdiocese are saying, and if that's it, this is why you have to pay attention to what's going on in the economy. All right, so let's segue here. Before the end of the show, I kind of just want to talk about this because we've mentioned it on the show previously about Iran and how they're looking to destroy America and Israel with the nuclear bomb. And they are currently, on the Blaze had reported on Tuesday, that Iran has begun uranium enrichment at an underground bunker. Now, that is something serious because if they're doing it in a bunker, because they were saying this entire time that it's for nuclear power, to have cheap electricity.
Yeah.
But why are they doing it in a bunker if it's for electricity?
They're really not trying to blow Israel or America off the face of the earth.
No. I mean, it's not like Ahmad Ahmadinejad ever said that the United States and Israel were the little and great Satan of the world. But there was also an article about Ahmadinejad and Hugo Chavez of Venezuela making a joke about blowing up the United States
Or is it?
with a nuclear strike. Yeah, well, they say it's a joke, quote, joke, unquote. And the article goes on and says, President Hugo Chavez defended his close ally, Iranian leader Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, on Monday and warned of U.S. War-going threats amid tensions over Tehran's nuclear program. The two leaders met in Caracas on the first leg of the Ford Nation tour that will also take Ahmadinejad to Nicaragua, Cuba, and Ecuador. Their conversation reportedly often focused on anti-U.S. rhetoric, which, according to the Daily Mail, included Mr. Chavez saying that he was hiding a bomb under a grassy knoll before the steps of the president's palace, saying that hill will open up and a big atomic bomb will come out. The imperialist spokesman said Ahmadinejad and I are going into the basement now to set our sights on Washington and launch cannons and missiles. It's laughable.
Wow, that's a great joke.
Now, how is that funny?
That, I'm trying not to laugh.
I mean,
now.
hold back your laughter, Joe. I see
that was
you,
good.
I see you cracking a smile over
That's
there.
a side splitter right there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. These guys should go on tour with that kind of material.
Man,
but
that just shows you how evil they are, though.
They really, I know.
If they call that a joke, wow.
And this is where it goes back with the Ron Paul supporters. This is why we need to stay over in the Middle East for a little bit, because between our oil over there, I mean, look at oil's above $102 per barrel.
Yep.
And at that point, we haven't even seen the highest gas prices for that yet. Usually, the average gas price at $102 a barrel is around $275, or I'm sorry, $375. So you're going to see it keep creeping up week after week.
The last week it's gone up at least 10, 15 cents.
Yeah, and then you're going to start seeing blame on the oil companies that they're jacking up the price.
Big
they're
oil.
not, because the price per barrel was down to like $80 a barrel a couple weeks ago. But it's all because of these tensions with Iran and these exercises that we're doing in the Gulf is creating tension, which means speculators are thinking the oil supply could dry up in any second with a strike. Because Iran has their sights on Saudi Arabia also. Because they know if they can destroy our oil supply, they will destroy America.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're talking about nothing. No food, no power, no gasoline, nothing.
Nobody realizes how much we rely on oil.
Exactly. You're talking about starvation in America if we lose our oil. And this is why we should become energy independent. I'm all for finding new technologies for energy, but we got to become energy independent first. So at least if something happens over in the Middle East, we can still protect ourselves and feed ourselves.
Yep.
And this is what we need to pay attention to.
That's the problem, though. We're so dependent on everybody else.
Yep.
Energy and everybody's buying our debt like China.
Yep.
But we never think about what could happen if these things get cut off.
We're not a sovereign nation anymore. I hate to say it, but we're not a sovereign nation. We're so dependent on so many other people. It never used to be that way. It used to be the U.S. depended on the U.S., and every other country depended on the U.S.
Yep.
But now we all depend on everybody else. That's ridiculous. All right, so that is for the show this week. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back with a brand new show next week at 7 p.m. on All Noise Radio. So tune in then. This is for Joe Backham. I'm Doug Karns for the Doug Karns program on All Noise Radio.